Hi, welcome to this video series, Supervision Moments. This is the month of March to 2025. I hope you'll tune in with each new guest interview. I'm Dr. Susan Thompson, and with me today is Mike Morgan, who's an LPC, actually one of the first folks that I supervised toward licensure, and Virginia Board of Counseling approved supervisor, also one of the first that I trained to be a supervisor. And we'll be talking about elements of clinical supervision for counselors. I've asked each of my interviewees to introduce themselves, then talk very briefly with a focus on one thing they want you, other supervisors, to know, remember, try, or ponder, and one recommendation, a resource, article, book, podcast, tool, or technique. So, Mike, welcome. What you got?
Thank you, Susan. As you mentioned, we go back a good way. So I thank you for inviting me on to share a little bit here. I guess I've been supervising now since maybe 2018, and I quickly started a bit of supervision at the agency I used to go into. One of the concepts that I wanted to bring up here is the idea of practicing stillness and silence. I'm a big fan of mindfulness. I'm a big fan of DBT, and I have a good bit of experience with both. I think when I ran DBT skills training groups, which I did for over a decade at my previous agency, we would start every session with a mindfulness moment, a mindfulness activity, something to get us all present and all grounded. And so some years later, when I started doing group supervision, I thought it was a good idea to carry that practice in there.
Yeah.
And again, I value a lot the, just cultivating and practicing that ability to be okay with stillness and silence. I think it adds a lot to our presence as counselors. It helps to settle that anxiety that comes up in the silent pauses and then the space around the words, but I think that space around the words is an important part of our counseling efforts.
So
Well,
that's one thing. And how about one recommendation then?
okay, so one recommendation, I listen to podcasts these days, and very few, but one that I like things that have an Eastern flavor to them. One of the clinical psychology people that I like to read and listen to in podcasts is Dr. Rick Hansen. He has an offering that comes out pretty regularly in newsletter form. It's called Just One Thing. And then there's a podcast that usually goes along with it where he and his son, Forrest, who is also pretty well versed in psychology, they take an issue and a matter and toss it back and forth. And I think there's a lot of practical stuff there. There's a lot of good wisdom in there. There's a lot of good neuropsychology stuff that comes out through there. So I think it's been a valuable resource for me. I always find something I can bring into my sessions as a piece of this. Did you know this? An aha moment. Yeah. My other recommendation is a little more offline, and it has to do with get out in nature as often and as deeply as you can because it's good for the soul.
It is. It is. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So there you have it.
Certainly.
One
Okay.
thing and two recommendations.
There you
I
go.
appreciate your joining me, Mike.
It's been a
Until,
pleasure. Yeah.
until next time, I'm Dr. Susan Thompson, licensed professional counselor in Virginia, Virginia Board of Counseling approved supervisor and nationally approved clinical supervisor. So we'll see you soon.